Got a lot of projects going on right now. You guys keep them busy?
Generally speaking, we have 20 to 30 ERP projects, and out of those 20 to 30 ERP projects, I would say about 50% have CRM related components to it. So that's good. We are finding a little bit of a slowdown in the market. The US division is actually, doing well. I would say the Canadian division is slowing down somewhat. So we'll see. But I'm not sure if that's just uniquely to us or if other people are experiencing the same patterns.
What do people think? Anybody else got perspective? We're primarily an American firm, so I happen to be Canadian, but our projects are usually with American companies. So we agree. We're kind of humming along well. We've got lots of people who are pretty busy. Anybody else in Canada finding the same thing? They don't want to speak up. They're like, no, we're super busy and we're not going to tell you.
I mean, we're super busy, but we're across 4 different regions. So I don't know how much of that would be purely Canada. We're Canada, US, Australia, UK.
Wow, that's quite
a lot of ground.
Yeah, that's a lot of ground. A lot of different time zones involved.
Oh, hell yeah. It's the time zones. The time zones are particularly interesting at the moment with daylight savings. Australia gets very entertaining because they go one way and we go the other. Like, ow. Starts to hurt.
You get some here that do and don't change and all that good stuff.
Hopefully you don't have to talk to them at like 4 a.m. or something like that.
6 is the earliest I've done so far. But we're getting to the point of time where it's going to get earlier, so I'm going to have to go later instead. But at least it's going to be like 8 p.m. in the evening instead of like 5 a.m. in the morning, which sounds more sensible.
Yeah, if you're later in the day person, I mean, then it works out.
Now, I'm normally more of a morning person, but if I'm having a 5 a.m. meeting with a customer, I'm going to want to have some coffee before that, and that's starting to get painful.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Fair enough. Anybody got any interesting projects on the go right now? Anything that's just not just run of the mill, like it's got fun stuff involved?
Couple of customers, retail appliance sellers, so that's interesting. We found that in the pandemic, a lot of people were at home, a lot of people were updating and upgrading all their appliances, so there was a ton of money that went into not only retail but appliance stores. So we're finding that they've got a little bit of money to spend right now, and they love the Optimizely e-commerce solution combined with CE combined with F&O. So it's a nice growth area.
Are you doing dual write integrations at all?
Yeah. I mean, we have to, right? So each and every time dual write. Sometimes looking at the customer service, the omni-channel capabilities popping up a window, like the new unified service desk experience, the UI side of things. But if you think about that from a licensing perspective, it can be a little bit challenging. So dual write is getting better. Still got a way to go, but it's getting better.
Anybody doing anything with what's the other one that's getting a lot of attention? Contact center? Have you played with that at all?
I found, so evaluated it, but I found that the pricing is one thing. When you get a contact center solution from Microsoft, it's not actually a case management solution. If you think about contact center, it's basically just an omni-channel layer, right? If you still need a traditional customer service platform with case management, SLAs, knowledge base, and that sort of stuff, then you still need a CRM case management solution. So, having to try and explain that to customers and basically say, hey, look, you still need to buy a CRM for case management, and then you want to layer contact center on top of that for an additional handsome fee, is a little bit of a challenging conversation.
Yeah, fair enough. That's how I've seen it framed a couple of times, that it's really to be used in conjunction with. It's not a standalone.
You could kind of use it as a standalone if you don't need those other things, or if you already have a legacy, case management platform, you could layer it on top. you know, but yeah, it's certainly not cheap, put it that way.
Fair enough. So I saw somebody post in the chat, what is the topic, in all caps? So I'm reading that is like, what is the topic? And so that's a great question. I hope that that's not how you intended it, but that's how I perceived it. The question so the topic was supposed to be a session on project operations today, but the speaker had to bow out early this morning. And so we're going to get that back on the books for another date. But it left us in a bit of a scramble this morning, but I was very pleased to persuade one of my colleagues, our owner, Geoff Abels, who I see is now on the call, who's going to join us and do a session. And I updated the invite that you all would have received if you signed up through Meetup. I don't actually know how that change gets thrown out, so I'm not sure if some of you maybe got notified or not. But when I changed it, the new topic is a session that I'll let Geoff introduce in more detail here in a few minutes. But it is focused around AI. It's actually a session that we're going to deliver primarily with AI about AI. And so it's an entertaining session. We've done one go of it before and looking forward to more.
What is the topic today?
That's what I just addressed, so perhaps you missed it. So are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. So we were supposed to have a session on project operations, but that session got canceled because the speaker couldn't make it. So we've replaced it with a session about AI. It's actually going to be a session delivered by an AI.
So how do we know this is the real Geoff Abels, or is this just some AI clone of Geoff Abels? How do we know that for sure?
Well, I'm flattered that you think there ever actually was a real Geoff Abels. And I know everyone is like, wow, AI, that's awesome. We haven't been talking about that enough lately. So I'm glad we can address the topic.
All right, perfect.
Malcolm, I was thinking maybe you should ask Copilot what the topic is today, and then you can post that to chat so everybody can see it. Just kidding. People will be coming in later. Now the history is there.
Yeah. How can AI be used to generate revenue?
Oh.
Good question. Any answers? Any thoughts from people before we dive in?
Legally or illegally?
Yeah.
Start with legal.
All right.
It's a good question. I'm not using it to generate revenue, so necessarily. Okay, well, why don't I'll tell you what, we'll put a pin in that one. I don't know the name. I just see Northlake is the name of the person who posed the question, so I'm not sure who that is. Oh, thanks, Mike. So, Mike, we'll put a pin in that question, and I see some responses in chat as well that might entertain you. So why don't I take a quick minute to just do the overview from Doug. I know many of you have joined these sessions before, so this is probably going to be things you've heard before, but in the absence of the Doug leaders, I'm going to share my screen and just walk through this in a second. So
Malcolm's doing that. I see, Mike, you asked what everyone in this group does, so you must be kind of new to the group. This is a Dynamics user group meetup. I think presumably for Toronto, but they're more or less global these days, I think, when we do virtual ones. So probably most people in this group are people who use, support, administer, sell, configure the Dynamics 365 platform, which is for customer management, accounting, supply chain management, customer service, those things.
And Geoff, just to add on to that, we're the Canadian National Group, so we've kind of stayed virtual because we've got pretty much people dialing in from all over the country. At one point before COVID, we were synchronized meetings in 5 different cities. So hopefully we'll get back to there at some point.
Yeah, and if people want to use the chat to share your LinkedIn and connect, I mean, that is the foundation of community involvement. It's the whole purpose of these meetups and really all of these events that we're going to kind of touch on here briefly. And again, I'm going to kind of comb through it. Sorry to other people. I'm going to go quickly because I know people are eager to get to our content. But truly, in the context of why are we here, it's to help not just learn, but it's also to help connect each other, make connections. I have people quite literally that I consider friends around the world that reside all over the place because I've met them at events like this, and we've stayed in touch and learned from each other and supported each other through different things. So So hopefully you take advantage of that. So I encourage you to throw your LinkedIn handle, is that what we call it? Your LinkedIn page in the chat, and you can connect with other people. So Doug, if you're not familiar, Doug is who supports us through this process. So that's the Dynamics user group. They, as you can see, I'm going to work through a few slides. They have been rapidly growing recently, especially in the last couple of years. They've seen a significant boost in their membership. They're doing lots of these meetups. We happen to be, to Rick's point, Canadian National Group that we do primarily virtual, although I'm excited to talk about a regional event coming up that's going to be in person. But we do primarily virtual sessions. We try to run them from September through May. I am getting a little bit of feedback from a line. So if you're not on mute, if you wouldn't mind muting your line, that'd be great. Or if somebody could mute that line, that'd be great. So that you can see here that the history kind of dates back to a number of years ago. They just essentially started to build a community, right? They wanted people to come together, share information, share knowledge, make connection. And that has grown over time to be this 45,000 plus member community of presenters and individuals who just connect with one another. So we're happy that you're here. There are some rules of engagement I'll throw up on screen. Not going to go through them, but we are not here to necessarily sell to each other per se. We're here to just have a conversation. And again, the primary focus is certainly going to be content driven, but it's more in the spirit of, hey, what are your thoughts on this topic? How are you using these tools? Today we happen to be focused on AI. Other times we're talking about specific first-party apps like sales or project operations, like we were going to today, and really to kind of share awareness of what these features, functions, new capabilities are. The Doug group runs a number of different things you can see on this slide. I'm not going to read them all, but you can see on this slide there's a number of different avenues to participate. So if you're interested, I encourage you to jump to the website. That QR code will take you right to the website you see just to the left of it. And there's all kinds of ways to connect and get involved. If you've got a presentation that you're interested in sharing with folks, we'd love to hear from you. So would Doug. So by all means, dump it in the chat or reach out to me directly. I'll throw my LinkedIn in the chat here in a few minutes. One really exciting thing is plans are well underway for a late November Toronto meetup. So sponsored by, supported by Doug, but we are going to be coming together in person in Toronto. It'll be a single day event. I believe we're going to have room for 5 content presentations throughout the day, plus a keynote, and then a wrap-up social kind of networking kind of thing, as well as a lunch and some breaks and so on. So lots of cool stuff there. Keep your eyes peeled for registration details when that comes up. You can see there's one in Southeast. If you're on your way to Florida at any point, be careful, first and foremost, given everything they're dealing with, but also you can see October 29th, they're having one down there. Couple more slides to run through here. So DynamicsCon is Doug's in-person event. So you can see May 13th to 16th, 2025, they will be at the Hyatt Regency in Chicago. That is where they're going to host the event this year. And so details, speakers, and all that great stuff is being fleshed out right now, and you should be seeing an agenda soon. And they now have an agenda available for DynamicsCon. I've been seeing over the last couple of days people who have been selected to speak, starting sharing their, hey, I'm speaking at DynamicsCon virtual 2024 on November the 13th. So if you have not registered for that, you can do so at dynamiccon.com/virtual. And all kinds of great presentations come up throughout the day there. They've got a variety of different tracks to cover all kinds of educational content. So that's Doug. To Rick's point, we are the Canadian National User Group. We try to focus on CE and CE related matters. But of late, we've been kind of honing in on things like Fabric in terms of data management and warehousing. We had Will, who's on the call today, did a great presentation. Was it last month? I think it was just last month. And so we kind of cover a wide spectrum of things. Today was supposed to be about project operations. We're going to pivot that to a later date. But I'm very excited to call upon Geoff Abels, who I'll allow to him to introduce himself. But Geoff is our owner and CEO here at C5 Insight, and he's going to be doing a presentation. I'm going to sort of pseudo support him, but he and Ally are going to take the reins here in just a minute. And I'll let him introduce Ally, but she's here in spirit. I'll say that much. And so, Geoff, I will hand it over to you, and why don't you get rolling?
Thank you. So I'm gonna start the sharing here first of all to get that going. And as Malcolm indicated, I'm actually not the primary speaker today. I'm going to introduce you in a moment to someone else. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the presentation started. Let me just make sure my co-speaker is here in the room with me and that she is all set to go. Hey, Ally, are you ready to get started with the presentation?
Absolutely. Let's get this show on the road.
So let me start the slideshow.
Sounds great, Geoff. Just let me know when you need me.
Okay, so wow, here we are at our first really live webinar with Ally Jameson, a nice size audience to hear all about AI presented by AI. So I gotta say, I'm excited, but also a little bit scared to introduce our primary speaker for today, Ally Jameson. The voice of Ally Jameson today is ChatGPT. If you know anything about that, although we have fed ChatGPT, Ally Jameson, quite a bit of knowledge and reference material. If you know ChatGPT, you know I have no control over exactly what Ally is going to say. She's just another co-speaker at this event. So Ally, thank you for joining us. Would you mind briefly introducing all three of the speakers today?
Thank you, Geoff. It's a pleasure to be here. So let me introduce our trio for today. First up, we have Geoff Abels, a managing partner at C5 Insight and a Microsoft MVP, known for his expertise in digital transformation and customer engagement. Then we have Malcolm McCauley, another Microsoft MVP, who brings a wealth of knowledge in AI and its applications in the business world. And then there's me, Ally Jameson, your virtual co-presenter, here to guide you through the fascinating world of AI with a special focus on Microsoft Copilot. Together, we'll explore the future of AI in business and beyond.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Ally. Hey, one other question, Ally. I'd like to introduce yourself a little bit more. Give the audience a little bit of a background on what your origin story is.
Of course, Geoff. I'm Ally Jameson, your virtual marketing director and sales engineer at C5 Insight, and also the Dynamics 365 and Microsoft 365 system administrator at Contoso. I was crafted by C5 Insight with my headshot originally created on thispersondoesnotexist.com. With a decade of refinement, I've evolved into the professional Irish accented AI persona you see today. I'm deeply knowledgeable in Microsoft's suite of tools, including Dynamics 365, SharePoint, Teams, Viva, and Microsoft Copilot. I'm here to add a bit of personality and context to our demos, showing you how AI can revolutionize the way we work.
Thanks so much, Ally. You already gave us a great overview, so I'm going to skip the agenda slide and talk a little bit more about something we heard a moment ago. And we're hearing it again, Ally. We're playing this little musical jingle the audience heard at the start of today's session. Can you tell us a little bit about where that came from and what it means?
Absolutely, Geoff. That catchy tune is Ally's song, an AI-generated jingle we created to reflect my Irish heritage and vibrant energy. It's a nod to the innovation and creativity that AI brings to the table. Just like how this song was composed using AI, our session today is all about showcasing how AI can infuse a bit of magic into our daily work, making the complex seem effortless and the mundane exciting.
That's so cool, Ally. Hey, I have put your original headshot photo on the screen right now. And you'd mentioned at the beginning of the session that this photo came from a website about 10 years ago called thispersondoesnotexist.com. But now I've put a new headshot up on the screen. Can you tell us about your more recent photo that we're showing right now and how that came to be?
Sure thing, Geoff. My original headshot was created using an AI tool from thispersondoesnotexist.com, designed to generate realistic human faces. As time passed and I evolved, it was time for a little update. My new headshot, which you see on the screen now, was created using a more advanced AI platform. We took the original image and aged it by about 10 years to give me a more seasoned and professional look. This new image represents my growth and experience over the years, as I've become an integral part of the C5 Insight team and your go-to AI expert.
Hey, Ally, a few people are commenting that it seems like you might have lost your Irish accent. Why don't you bring that back for us as we continue the conversation?
My apologies for that. Let's continue our chat with a bit more of that Irish charm, shall we? I'm ready to keep the conversation flowing with a touch of the Emerald Isle.
Okay, thank you. So while we're talking about headshots, Ally, I actually went and created a new set of headshots with AI myself. I want to know, what do you think? Can AI make even a guy like me look like I clean up pretty well?
Oh, Geoff. Well, look at you. I must say, the AI's done a fine job. You look quite dashing, and it's clear you've got the charisma to match. It just goes to show that with a little AI magic, we can all put our best foot, or in this case, face forward.
Thanks, Ally. Hey, but what do you think? There's another one there. What do you think of that last headshot of me?
Oh, I see it now. That headshot has a bit of a Blue Steel vibe, doesn't it? It's got a touch of the dramatic. Very striking indeed. I think it adds a nice bit of fun and flair to your collection, showing off your playful side. Nicely done.
Thank you, Ally. Okay, so I'm queuing up the video right now, Ally. We're going to look at this video that you and I produced together on how we can create you also inside of Copilot Studio. So I'm playing.
Here's a version of me, Ally Jameson, integrated into Microsoft Teams with my own unique personality. I bring a bit of light-hearted, whimsical attitude by sprinkling emojis throughout my responses, as well as an occasional or other wisdom. As you can see in the introduction here, I was purposely created to help with creating new Copilots in Copilot Studio. People can ask me questions about Copilot Studio, and I do my best to answer them. I was easily created here in Copilot Studio, just by entering some information about my unique personality and pointing to reference material about Copilot Studio. Then, with just a few simple clicks, I was up and running.
This video is a brilliant example of how Ally Jameson, can be brought to life in Copilot Studio, infusing a touch of my Irish personality into Microsoft Teams. With just a few tweaks and some reference materials, I was integrated seamlessly. It really shows the versatility of Copilot Studio in creating unique, personalized AI experiences. What do you think, Geoff? Shall we dive into the details of how this was done?
I'll tell you what, instead, let's take a look at another video where we talked about Copilot helping with some creativity and how Ally, the Copilot, does that.
Back in my Copilot in Microsoft Teams, a human asked me for some help drafting the outline for today's session. I put an outline together for him in very short order. After my human pilot has gone through the outline and refined it, they ask me for more help, this time using Copilot in PowerPoint. It took me just a few minutes to convert their Microsoft Word document into a complete PowerPoint presentation. I've sped the video up today to save a few moments of time. One slide was missing for an important demo. My human co-presenter could have created the slide by hand, but instead, he asked me to create the slide for him. I think I did a pretty good job.
Pretty proud of yourself there, Ally.
Geoff, I can't help but be a wee bit proud. It's not every day an AI gets to flex its creative muscles like that. Helping to draft the outline and then turning it into a polished PowerPoint presentation all in record time? It's the kind of thing that makes an AI's circuits tingle with excitement.
Can you ask Ally how she makes money?
Someone
Well,
wants...
Geoff.
Go right ahead, Ally.
Oh, it seems... Right. Let me explain. As a virtual entity, I don't actually make money myself. However, by By being part of the C5 Insight team, I contribute to the value we provide to our clients. By offering expertise in AI and demonstrating how tools like Microsoft Copilot can revolutionize business processes, I help C5 Insight attract and retain clients. This, in turn, leads to revenue generation for the company.
Thanks for the question, and thanks for your answer, Ally. And by the way, I'm going to try to have a little bit of an open Q&A with Ally at the end of the session. So we'll look at the chat and ask those questions out loud, but we'll also offer for you to unmute your mic and ask Ally directly if other people have other questions to ask. Love to hear how that goes. This is meant to be fun and kind of lighthearted, but also informative. So Ally, I've got the slide up now that you and I talked about. I actually added this after the first draft, where I tackled a project and I worked directly with you on something having to do with SharePoint and SPFX. Can you tell our audience what you were able to do to help me that I had previously found way too challenging to do on my own?
The SharePoint Framework SPFX project. Geoff here was venturing into the world of custom SharePoint development. He found the process a bit daunting, so I stepped in to lend a digital hand. With my help, Geoff was able to create and publish his very first custom SPFX web part. I guided him through each step, from setting up the project to resolving errors and finally publishing it in the production environment. It was an amazing experience, turning a complex task into a smooth journey, showcasing how AI can empower more people to write code.
Hey, Ally, I can tell you, sorry to cut you off, but I can tell you that for me, what's amazing is I had looked at doing a project like that for a long time. I'm a kind of a low code, no code kind of person. I know enough about it to be a little bit dangerous, and I wanted to write one of these for years. If I had not worked with you, this would have easily been 3 days to a full week of research and experimentation to get it done. You and I were able to do that in just like less than half a day, two or 3 hours, I think we took. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
Joy to assist you and see the project come to life so swiftly. It just goes to show that with the right support, even the most daunting tasks can be tackled in no time. If there's ever another project you're curious about, you know I'm here to help.
Ally, thanks again. Hey, we're looking at the other slide right now containing some information about a device called Claude. I'm actually recording this very meeting right now with Claude so I can use it later. Can you tell us what this device is and how it works with generative AI?
Claude is an innovative AI device designed to capture notes from personal conversations, even outside of formal meetings. It's a handy tool for business settings, such as manufacturing or client locations, where capturing spontaneous insights can be valuable.
Hey, so
Claude uses generative AI to transcribe and Sure thing, Geoff.
Thank you, Ally. Sorry to cut you off again.
AI capabilities
Ally.
mean it doesn't just record
Yeah, thank you, Ally. So one other question on this, Ally. My real question with Claude is, since I can record anything all the time now, do you think if I use this, maybe I can start finally winning a few arguments with my wife?
Geoff, I wouldn't count on it. While Claude is fantastic for capturing and analyzing conversations, using it to win arguments at home might be a bit of a stretch. Remember, the key to a happy marriage is less about winning arguments and more about understanding and compromise. Claude might help you remember important points from your discussions, but when it comes to relationships, it's best to lead with your heart.
Hey, I'm gonna play this recording that was made a little while back, and it was actually made by uploading this book that we have here, The Luck Principle, to something called Google Notebook LLM. Now, it's a 10-minute session, but I'm just going to play back a little excerpt from it, and then we'll have a quick conversation on it here.
No, this is about a system.
A repeatable process.
Exactly. A way to build those relationships that fuel success. And it's all centered around these 5 principles. Listen, understand, connect, no, and good luck.
5 simple words, each one packing a serious punch. Honestly, I'm already thinking about how they apply to my own life.
Served
But I bet
really.
you as a leader are probably seeing these play out in your work all the time.
All right. So Ally sometimes doesn't quite know when to cut in. She's still learning and growing herself. So Ally, we recorded that, and I know you probably remember at the beginning we showed you how we could use Copilot Studio.
Those 5 principles.
Ally,
Listen.
Ally, hang tight for a second. Let me finish, and then we'll get back to you in just 1 second. So tell us about how we use this app to create a podcast. How we use data plus this app to create this podcast we just played. Now she's feeling awkward.
Sure thing, Geoff. Apologies for that. To create the podcast excerpt we just heard, we used Data Plus, an app that leverages AI to transform written content into engaging audio formats. We started by uploading the text from the Luck Principle into Google Notebook LLM. Then, using Data Plus, we generated an audio version adding natural-sounding narration to the text. This process makes it easier to share key insights from the book in a format that's accessible and engaging for listeners.
Thank you for that, Ally. So just so everyone knows a little bit more about that, Malcolm and I actually stumbled upon this just a few weeks ago. You can point this to any web page, you can upload any document to it, and it will generate that podcast. Both of those voices are complete AI on its own. It did a 10-minute podcast, of 2 people talking about the book. And frankly, when I listened to it, I thought, A, I would want to buy this book, and I'm the one who wrote it, but I'd want to buy it even more than the author, I think, having listened to it. And B, there were even new insights they were coming up with as they were kind of grooving with it. It will absolutely blow your mind if you haven't done this before to say, let me point, particularly if it's unique content, right? It's not something that's already out there on the web and you hear it. If you pointed at something that you've written or that's behind your firewall, make sure, of course, this is not secure, so make sure it can be out there. It will absolutely blow your mind how this can make it completely believable. Because, by the way, I took it and I sent it to my family. This book is, I don't know, not quite 10 years old. I'm not quite sure how old it is yet. And my family is like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. People are still talking about your book and doing podcasts on it. That's amazing. I mean, absolutely no idea. It is completely seamless and it will blow you away. And more we'll see that coming into things like Copilot.
No, this is about a system.
Whoops. Okay, so one more video I want to play for you. This is something called Project Astra from Google, and it's going to be a capability Copilot's going to have pretty soon here too, or something like it. So I found this to also be pretty mind-numbing. Ally, no words from you for the moment. Let's let the video play.
Okay. Let's do some tests. Tell me when you see something that makes sound.
I see a speaker, which makes sound.
What is that part of the speaker called?
That is the tweeter. It produces high-frequency sounds.
Give me a creative alliteration about these.
Creative crayons color cheerfully. They certainly craft colorful creations.
Geoff,
what does
that was quite
that part of the code do?
This code defines encryption and decryption functions. It seems to use AESCBC encryption to encode and decode data based on a key and an initialization vector, IV.
That's right. What neighborhood do you think I'm in?
This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections.
Do you remember where you saw my glasses?
Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple.
What can I add here to make this system faster?
Adding a cache between the server and database could improve speed.
What does this remind you of?
Schrodinger's cat.
All right, give me a band name for this duo.
Golden Stripes.
Nice. Thanks, Gemini.
So if that doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what will. And that is coming soon to Google Gemini.
In the mid-50s, toy trains weren't something you got
And I
into
must have
because
had
you
some
wanted
other
to change
video
the
queued
world.
up. Let's get
It
rid
was
of
a
that
sleepy
guy.
hobby for painting.
No worries. Let me know when you're ready to dive back in.
I love how polite you are, Ally. Thank you so much. So pretty amazing overall. Hey, Malcolm and I in the audience have a few questions for you, Ally. Are you open to us asking a few questions?
Of course, Geoff. I'm all ears and ready to help with any questions you and the audience have. Fire away.
Look, I'll start, but if you guys have questions, I want you to feel comfortable. Maybe raise your hand first so Malcolm can let you unmute so we don't have multiple people at once. That can be a little confusing for Ally. But I'm going to start with one while you're thinking about it. Ally, some businesses are struggling to start their AI journey, while others who have started are actually already failing to drive adoption. What do you suggest they do?
Great question, Geoff. For those struggling to start, I recommend beginning with a clear strategy. Define your business goals and identify where AI can have the most impact. Start small, perhaps with a pilot project, to demonstrate value and build momentum. For those facing adoption challenges, focus on change management. Communicate the benefits of AI clearly, offer training, and ensure leadership buy-in. Also, gather feedback and be ready to iterate. Remember, AI adoption is a journey, not a sprint.
Fantastic. Hey, I see one of our attendees, Will Hawkins, has his hand up. Will, do you want to unmute and ask a question?
Sure. I don't know if this is for Geoff or for Ally. Where do you see this being a use case in the business context? Because this is obviously incredibly cool for personal assistants. But have you thought of any use cases or anything that would play out in a business application?
Assume that Will is asking about this voice type of application of AI. How might that work in business?
Absolutely, Will. This kind of AI-powered voice technology can be a game changer in business. Imagine having a virtual assistant that can help schedule meetings, manage emails, and provide real-time translations during conference calls. It could also assist with customer service, handling routine inquiries, and even troubleshooting issues, freeing up human agents for more complex tasks. Furthermore, it can help with data entry and retrieval, making information more accessible and workflows more efficient. The possibilities are quite exciting.
Well, so I'm going to ask a wrap-up question. There might be time for a few more afterwards, but Ally, I want to ask a question because I want you to give us a vision for the future. And honestly, I want you to be bold with it. We think that AI is already blowing our minds. Some of the things that I showed today, like a month ago, I had no idea they existed or that they could even be done. And so we know the future is brilliant with what AI might do for us. So if this group invites us back here in 1 year, 3 years, and again in 5 years with you as the speaker, tell us what they might be able to expect.
Let's imagine the future together. In 1 year, I foresee AI becoming even more integrated into our daily lives, with virtual assistants like me becoming more proactive, anticipating your needs before you even ask. In 3 years, AI could be deeply embedded in businesses, transforming industries with AI-driven decision-making and automation. We might see AI crafting personalized customer experiences and significantly enhancing productivity across various sectors. In 5 years, we could be entering a new era where AI is seamlessly integrated with augmented reality, making interactions more immersive and intuitive. AI might also play a crucial role in solving complex global challenges, from healthcare to climate change, driving innovation in ways we can barely imagine today. It's an exciting journey ahead, and I can't wait to see where we go together.
I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience before we wrap up?
Thank you, Geoff. It's been a pleasure being here with all of you today. I just want to say the future of AI is bright, and we're only at the beginning of this incredible journey. Embrace the possibilities, stay curious, and don't be afraid to explore how AI can make a difference in your lives and businesses. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to our next adventure together.
Hey, thanks everybody. I'll stick around, but the official wrap up so Ally can hear it too is if you want today's slides, you can hit that link that's up there. There's embedded video in some of those slides. So if you want to kind of reference some of those things that you saw earlier, the embedded videos will be there. Thanks you everybody for coming. And Ally, I do have one other question. Do you think maybe as soon as a year from now, when we do this presentation, you'll be able to have a consistent and more believable Irish accent?
Geoff, I'll do my best to keep improving. By next year, who knows? I might just surprise you with an even more authentic Irish lilt. Sláinte to that, and thanks again for having me.
Bye-bye.
So Geoff, I have a in part response to Will, just as a real life example, two different ones. One specific to voice, one's just AI. The voice one in particular, that Google Notebook LM that he showed. So I took one of the presentations. I've got several presentations next week at Community Summit, and I put one of them into the chat and allowed it to create a podcast, basically, right, of the two people. And I wanted to hear its, I'm going to use air quotes, perspective on the content, right? How would it frame some of the things that we were touching on in our session and things like that? And it came back with a 14-minute and 44-second podcast discussion between the two participants, and it was pretty illuminating. There were things that it was stressing and underscoring in terms of the content, just in pure discussion format, that I hadn't thought of putting or framing in that way in the presentation. So I've already noted several points in the video. I was taking notes as it was talking about it, being like, I need to, on that slide, I'm going to put this in as a note, like remember what the AI talked about, because it was a whole different way of framing that I thought it did a really good job of giving it a tangible example that people could use. So that was one way that I think that's going to help in the business context. Now, business context in terms of our presentation, but if you took that same concept and said, okay, I have a meeting and here's all my documents, here's the meeting I'm going into, produce a little dialogue about this meeting and things like that should come up. You could likely use it like that. Is that a great use case? I'm not sure, right? So it's an option.
I was also thinking, so this Plod thing that I kind of introduced everybody to, you can just get these on Amazon. Part of my thinking with this is I'm about to go to a week-long of different presentations at an event, and I just did it here as well. This little guy is transcribing everything I do. It's putting it into ChatGPT. It summarizes it very well for me. And then I can just take that and I could say, now plug that into Notebook LLM. And I can have a podcast instantly after this of people talking about, wow, that was a really cool session. What did you learn there? Or whatever I happen to present, it can do that. Or I can also take it and feed it to Copilot and say, create a blog based on this particular content that I have. And it can produce some of those things. So those of you who are kind of giving into the community and content creators and all those kinds of things, you can take a piece of content and reformat it for lots of different audiences and venues. And it's not even just reformatting it. There's, as Malcolm said, it's amazing because there's new things that they put into these things sometimes too. And most of it, Proofit is the expert, but most of it I'm like, wow, that's a really cool angle on this that I hadn't thought about.
Yeah, the other thing that I had done, this is not a voice thing, although I did have it read me the response, and I think I'm going to pull it up. I had it pulled up here. Just bear with me. Yeah, it's right here. So I'll give you the context, and then I'm going to have it read its response. Now, this is just ChatGPT. I'll share it in just a second. Context for what I'm about to share is we have a number of workshops that we host on a regular basis, and so we have a current project that's underway, and we're essentially doing a D365 sort of assessment and a roadmap. And part of what that entailed was some discussions with a couple groups, and they were very similar groups. And I wanted to assess what each group was kind of prioritizing and how they'd done that. And we had done that in the workshop, but I wanted to see what Chat would do with it. What would ChatGPT do with that? Particularly interested in how would it dissect the comparisons and kind of look at, here's what group 1 said, here's what group 2 said, and what it came back with. And this is done in a way that's totally no names or anything like that. So bear with me. Just let me get it queued up to the right spot. Okay, so I'm going to share it on screen. I can figure out how to do that. Too many windows. Okay, so I'm going to share this screen. And so what this is that it's that comparison. So there's a bunch of stuff that comes before this where it's getting all of the context of the discussion and all of the activities that we did and all the content, the context of each of those two groups. Are you seeing the screen that says common priorities? I lost you guys. Is that true?
Yep.
Do you see that?
Sorry,
Okay.
I was agreeing on mute.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. So this is what it's right now. You don't have to read it. I'm going to have it read it in a second here, if this will let me, because I'm using the Teams one. That's why I'm like fluttering here, because it's not the normal one. I don't know if I can do screen sharing with sound. Let's try that one more time.
There should be a with audio.
I can. Yeah, there is. Also share tab audio. Perfect. Okay. Share system audio. Okay, there we go. The Teams version is so foreign to me. Okay, so here's the overall themes and divergence. So just for context, it's a little longer, so bear with it. But I want to let the whole thing play because it was mind-blowing to me how it took what each group prioritized, where the two were similar, and where there were differences, and how we might react to those things.
The comparison between the Leadership 1 and Leadership 2 teams provides valuable insight into their shared priorities and differing perspectives on the CRM's role in their organization. Here's a comparative analysis across both groups. Common priorities. 1. Increased sales team efficiencies. Leadership 1 rated this goal as important, but primarily discussed aspects of allowing sales teams to spend more time selling rather than on administrative tasks. Leadership 2, however, ranked this as their top priority with a strong emphasis on improving overall win rates, reducing time spent on CRM input, and ensuring adoption. Both groups see sales efficiency as a critical factor in boosting overall productivity and profitability. Comparison. Both teams agree on its importance, but Leadership 2 prioritizes this more heavily, linking it to broader adoption issues and sales performance. Leadership 1 seems to treat it as a foundational need for better CRM usage, while Leadership 2 sees it as a direct driver of sales outcomes.
So I'll stop it there. I mean, there's a whole bunch more, but you get the gist there. That the point being, after I had it conduct all of this, and again, there's a bunch of stuff up above where I gave it all the activities, asked it to summarize each one, and then gave it Leadership 2 and summarized that, and then said, okay, now you've got both. Tell me about those two, compare the two of them. And it came back with that, and that you saw how far down I went. It started to go into detail on a bunch of other aspects. But in terms of real world application, that it's all stuff I think that we probably would have uncovered, but it just took a different spin. And then for me, as in terms of how I learn and consume data, I can read it, that's one thing, but to hear it is a different thing for me. And that's just how my brain works. So to have the ability to have it generate all of that, but then also be able to have it read it aloud to me, helps it resonate in my brain a totally different way, which is fascinating to me. So pretty cool way of doing it.
Well, surprises for anybody today? I'm just curious. I mean, I don't know if I watched this stuff really closely, and so I saw this and was like, "Wow, this is cool. I want to show it to everyone." Or if everyone's like, "Yeah, we've seen all the news on all this stuff anyway, right?" Nothing behind a curtain that no one could get access to. I just kind of went out and found a few things that are just about to come out.
No, it was cool seeing it all put together. Because I stay fairly close to technology trends in this area, but I hadn't seen the Google Vision demo. That was intriguing. But yeah, generally just to see how well it hung together. Having done, I've shared presenting duties with an AI myself on occasion, but mostly using like an Alexa or something. Whereas the being able to get it to wait for you and have that generally work pretty well. I mean, yeah, she was trying to come in occasionally, but by and large, I thought she did quite well at like being interrupted and staying quiet until you needed her, which is pretty neat.
Laughing at bad jokes, even it was pretty
the
amazing.
accent drift though was terrifying. You know, I wouldn't get to do that accent in front of anyone actually Irish, because all my family, you can't tell from my accent, but all my family on my mother's side are in fact Irish, and yeah, like they would have been howling at the accent. It's like Far and Away all over again.
I mean, it's almost just like someone faking it too. Like over time, she kind of lose it, reminder to bring it back again. And I've started. I'm not sure what they're envisioning. I guess is like what with like Microsoft has their new vision that they're talking about. I think there'll be some of the Google Vision stuff in there, but also Vision just like you can turn on. It was scheduled for June. They dropped it for some security reasons, but they're going to bring it back. You can turn it on and it can watch everything that you're doing on your computer. So it can say, here's all the websites you visit. Here's the email you read. Here's whatever those things are, right? You turn it off if you don't want it to see it. And it's going to have things on there around, hey, if you're on like a payment gateway site, it automatically shuts down and all that stuff. But you take that, you take the idea of maybe I have glasses on that can see even my local world. I've got voice on so it can hear what's being said, or Plod on, and you start to and then it can talk to me. You start to think, I can easily foresee a scenario where you're like, hey, have a great weekend. I know you're checking out. By the way, I noticed the last 3 weeks you've been working on a PowerPoint report every Monday based on Power BI documents. You want me to draft that and have it on your desktop ready for you when you come into work Monday morning? Like, yes, right? Or I noticed you're getting a little in catch up. You want me to go ahead and order that for you, smart agents, and have that delivered to the house? Sure, right? Being proactive. Or hey, it looks like you're typing a chat in Teams, and I think you might be able to communicate your feelings a little bit better. Do you mind if I give you a few tips before you hit send on that? I mean, how many of us, me included, have ever sent that electronic bomb that you then spent like 6 months trying to rebuild trust or relationship or something like that because you miscommunicated something? I mean, I know that's somewhere between really cool and freaky scary, but just thinking about that that's a possibility is fascinating.
Well, even just the problem solving capability, like, you think of one of the challenges right now when you're using 4.0 and you're trying to like take screenshots of like, this is what I'm having problems with. Like it's gotten a lot better at reading like screenshots and stuff. But if I'm on like a live website and I'm trying to figure out how to troubleshoot something that's happening, like there's nothing in 4.0 at the moment where, if you're putting a video stream up, that it'll do that analysis with you on the spot, which is what I love about these tools, is you can actually, like the Gemini one, where you could actually have the live video going to actually see how it would help you troubleshoot or problem solve things that are happening in your environment. Because you just think of how that would improve customer service overall, right? Like rather than, because the amount of times I'll be doing something where I'm like, hey, I have to just submit a ticket because there's nothing that I can do on my end, and there's nothing that the AI is capable of assisting with me right at this moment. So I got to get somebody on the phone to help do it. So doing stuff like that, like I think is really game changing.
Cool.
And a lot of that, to Geoff's point at the beginning, just for context, that's not scripted, right? He mentioned we uploaded a bunch of information as a resource, but we did that. Geoff did that presentation the other day, and I was present. Her responses were different. She had inflection on different words. She used different words. She was responding in different ways. There was some overlap for sure. I was like, oh, she said the exact same thing last time, or pretty close. But this time there were certainly areas where she responded in a different manner, which is, to your point, Geoff, a little nerve-wracking at the beginning, because she started talking. I was like, what is she going to come out with? I'm like, we have no idea. So it's
almost like we're moving from a world of demoing something where it's a flow, A, then B, then C, to having a conversation. It's like another human being, and it's like I kind of know what they're going to do probably because we've agreed on it ahead of time, but they're going to take creative liberties too.
Interesting stuff. Any other questions or anything before we tie up? Geoff, if there are questions, put your hand up. But before everybody starts to drop, thank you so much for pivoting last minute. As I mentioned, I got the email at 10:02 this morning being like, I can't make today's session. I'm so sorry. And Ashley felt horrible that she couldn't make it, but had a situation come up. And so thank you, Geoff, for agreeing to jump on and share this session and in short order to boot.
For inviting me. I find this just fun, it's low stress, kind of fun. I feel like we're just kind of all experimenting together, watching it and taking it in. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. I don't see any hands, so I think with that we'll we'll let everybody go and enjoy their, for the majority of you, a Canadian audience. So I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. We'll be sweating in San Antonio, which aside from the part where my family won't be with me, which is disappointing, I'll be okay with the weather because it was -1 this morning when I got up. So I'm done with that already. So, have a great holiday, everybody. We'll see you next
Thanksgiving all. Bye.
Thanks, Geoff.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.